If I have a simple tulip bulb in my hand, and I ask you to look at it and say, what is it? You'd say, well, it's just a grungy mass of biological matter. I say, but look at it more closely. And if it gets nurtured in a certain way, that is, it's watered and put in the ground, it will become a tulip bulb. Why? Because it has built into it a future pull. A future pull that you can't see or dissect or find in any lab. It has a future pull, a picture that is part of its DNA, part of its genetic inheritance. If you take a liver cell from your liver and look at it and dissect it, and it has a future pull, it will always be a liver cell. It will never be anything else. In order for you to be able to manifest magic, real magic in your life, miracles, you must first be able to conceive of it. You must be able to conceive of it, and that means no doubt. And the doubt comes by shifting to a knowing rather than a belief. All of this stuff, Deepak and I are talking now about taking a group, making a movie, and taking in this movie a group of babies that say 100 of them. And as they are born, we remove them from the environment that they're in, orphans and so on, children who are to be abandoned, and we place them into a world where there is no doubt, where they get past the lie. You know, we're led to believe a lie, as William Blake said in his wonderful poem, Songs of Innocence. He said, to see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, to hold eternity in the palm of your hand and infinity in an hour, we are led to believe a lie when we see with, not through the eye, which was born in a night to perish in a night, when the soul slept in beams of light. All of us are born in a night to perish in a night, in the physical world. But the soul, the spirit, resides and sleeps in formless beams of light. We are led to believe a lie, a huge lie. And the lie is that there are limitations in our life. Imagine these little children being raised in a world where doubt and impossible and can't do are never exposed to that. Anything that they can conceive of in their mind, they're able to practice. They go to fire putting out school, 101. And in fire putting out school, here's a fire over here, and you sit here, and you work on it with your mind. And you put that fire out. You know what my kids and I do after dinner? Many times after dinner in the evenings, a couple times a week, we go out and we put blankets on the grass. And in the blankets on the grass, we look up at the sky. And we kids say, I'm going to make clouds. Who wants to make clouds? I want to make clouds, Daddy. I want to make clouds. I'm going to make a rabbit. My kids, all the people in the neighborhood think that my kids are neurotic. Those Dyer kids think they can make clouds. Why not? The same intelligence that flows through them flows through the clouds. Why not shatter the illusion of your separateness and believe that? Imagine a whole curriculum, a whole world in which you were raised to know that there was no doubt. And you can transcend that doubt. And when you do, you begin to see that miracles, synchronicity become very much a part of your life.
Close the door to the outer world for just a moment. In silence, we awaken. In stillness, we command. You were never meant to beg life for crumbs. You were meant to declare and see the world bow to your declaration. Never complain. When you complain, you agree with limitation. You tell the universe, I accept this. But the truth is, your acceptance is the only thing keeping it alive. Complaining feeds the illusion. It strengthens the shadows. The moment you stop speaking of what you hate, you starve it of life. Never explain. You owe no one an explanation for your dreams, your silence, or your certainty. To explain is to defend, and to defend is to doubt. Let your life speak for itself. Let your transformation become the answer to every question. When you know what you are doing inwardly, explanation becomes unnecessary. The one who manifests miracles is not loud. They are not desperate. They are calm, certain quietly. Sure, they move through the world knowing that what they have imagined must appear. The world bends to the unseen self. This is law. You are not here to fight reality. You are here to replace it. And how do you do that? By refusing to entertain what no longer serves you, by never speaking of it again, by not giving it one more second of your precious energy. The moment you decide to no longer complain or explain, you have stepped into power. The miracle is not coming from out there. It's not delayed. It's not complicated. It is already prepared. It only waits for your assumption. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Assume it so deeply, so faithfully, that the world has no choice but to reflect it. Be still now. Let no outer voice disturb you. Let no need for validation creep in. Let no hunger for sympathy draw you back into the world of excuses. You are done explaining. You are done complaining. You are ready to command silence your doubts, dwell in your desire, live from the end, and miracles will not be rare, they will be routine. Never complain, never explain. Manifest silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of power. It is the quiet confidence of the one who knows who they are and what they possess within the person who remains silent in a noisy world is not weak, but supremely strong. They have withdrawn their energy from the outer chaos and anchored it in the inner kingdom. They understand something sacred, that words are seeds and not every field is worthy of planting. To complain is to speak from a state of powerlessness. It is the act of reinforcing that which you no longer wish to experience. Every complaint is a repetition of lack, a declaration that the outer world is your master. But the awakened mind knows that reality is not to be obeyed. It is to be shaped. Complaining feeds the problem. Silence stops it. And so the confident mind chooses stillness. Not out of indifference, but out of intention. Likewise, to explain yourself constantly is to reveal uncertainty. You explain when you believe you must earn understanding. When you seek approval, when you are not yet convinced that your own inner knowing is enough. But the one who walks in alignment with their vision knows that explanations are unnecessary. They do not defend their desires. They do not justify their path. They simply walk it and let the results speak. The more certain you are within, the less you need to be validated without. Silence then becomes your most potent statement. It is the invisible signal that you have turned within, that you are now communing with the infinite, not pleading with the finite. When you say nothing but believe everything, you become magnetic. Others feel the shift in your energy. They may not understand it, but they respond to it. The world begins to conform, not because you shouted, not because you begged, but because you dared to trust in the unseen. Your imagination is your sacred temple. What you build there, in stillness and in faith, becomes flesh. And so, the confident mind doesn't speak of what it doesn't want. It speaks only of what is already done in consciousness, or it remains utterly still, allowing the inner picture to grow in silence, for just as seeds do not sprout when constantly disturbed, manifestations do not flourish when constantly doubted. To master your reality, master your silence, not as repression, but as reverence, not as avoidance, but as divine strategy. Speak only when your words add power to the vision. Otherwise, let your silence become your shield. Let it be your stance. Let it announce to the universe, I know who I am, I know what I have assumed, I know it is done, and in that quiet, knowing, the miracle appears not as a surprise, but as the most natural outcome of a mind that never complained, never explained, and never doubted its own creative authority. You are always manifesting whether you realize it or not. Every moment of your life is a reflection of your inner state. Yet your thoughts are not idle. Your emotions are not meaningless. What you consistently accept as true within yourself, whether through worry or wonder, complaint or creation, becomes the blueprint for your reality. This is the unchanging law. Many believe manifestation is something that begins when you sit in meditation. Write down affirmations or visualize a goal, but that is only part of the picture. Manifestation is not a switch you turn on and off. It is constant. Every belief you carry, every story you repeat to yourself, every assumption you refuse to challenge is actively shaping the world around you. The question is not whether, the question is what are you manifesting when you complain? You affirm that the problem is real, powerful, and persistent. You attach yourself to the very condition you wish to change. You feed the energy of lack and limitation. And because your subconscious mind accepts repetition as truths, it takes those complaints as instructions, it says. So this is what we believe now and proceeds to build your world accordingly. Complaint is not harmless. It is creation in disguise, and it creates precisely what you do not want. But when you choose to create, you begin to use your mind on purpose. You shift from reality to intention, from fear to faith. But when you choose to create, you begin to use your mind on purpose. You tap into the real power. You begin to use your mind on purpose. You shift from reality to intention. You shift from reality instead of to feel. You begin to use your mind on purpose. You shift from reality. This is why your inner world is so vital. It is the garden from which all else grows. If you fill it with weeds of worry, weeds will appear in your outer life. But if you plant seeds of certainty, beauty, wealth, and peace, those two will rise and take form. What you nourish within is what takes shape without. And your attention is the water that determines which grow. Choose wisely. Your mind is not a playground, it is sacred ground. To entertain every complaint, every doubt, every negative assumption is to misuse divine power. But to speak as though it is done to feel the joy of fulfillment. Now to refuse to dwell in lack. This is mastery. This is living deliberately. You manifest not by force, but by faith, not by effort, but by assumption. And the universe is not judging what you want. It is simply mirroring what you persistently believe. So watch your inner conversations. Notice the stories you tell. Are they leading you toward what you desire or anchoring you in what you fear? Every thought is a seed. Every feeling is a command. Every assumption is a silent prayer. You are always manifesting. And the life you live today began in the thoughts you entertained yesterday. Choose now with purpose, and tomorrow will reflect the wisdom of that choice. The explanation is for the unbelieving. It is the language of doubt, the gesture of someone trying to be convinced by others because they have not yet convinced themselves. But once you truly believe, once you have seen the desire in your mind's eye and accepted it as real, there is no urge to explain. There is only quiet certainty, calm knowing, and the unwavering expectation that it must unfold. When you live from imagination, you are walking a path that most cannot see. Your vision is invisible to others, and because they cannot see what you see, they may question, challenge, or misunderstand you. But you do not owe anyone the burden of explanation. You are not required to justify your dreams to those who are bound by appearances. The creative act is sacred, private, and personal. It takes place within you. It is validated not by argument, but by manifestation. You must understand this. The only evidence you ever need is the result. Once the desire appears in your outer world, number one will question how it came. They will see it and it will speak for itself. But until then, you are planting invisible seeds, and if you speak too soon, explaining, defending, reasoning, you're often digging up what has not yet had time to bloom. To explain is often to weaken. It is to step down from the throne of inner authority and seek permission from the crowd, but those who manifest consistently do not seek approval. They are not moved by opinion. They are not shaken by disbelief. They live from the end, and in doing so, they walk in peace. You must remember your imagination is divine. It is the place where all things begin. If you have seen it clearly in your inner world, you do not need to explain it in the outer world. The moment you feel the need to justify your desire, you have already moved away from it. The moment you seek validation, you have placed your power in the hands of another. So be still. Assume the feeling, occupy the state, walk as though it is already done. When you do this, you will discover something profound. The need for explanation disappears. You no longer care whether others understand or approve. You know the law. You know the process, and you know that what you have imagined must become your experience. Let your life be the proof. Let your peace be the message. Let your results speak so loudly that explanations are no longer necessary. This is the mark of one who walks by inner vision, not outer sight. When you truly believe, you don't need to talk about it, you embody it. You don't argue for it. You live from it, and in time the world will see what you saw in silence. Then and only then will they understand. Until that day, remain unmoved. You owe them nothing but the radiance of your certainty. The more you speak of lack, the more you experience it. Words are not just sounds, they are declarations of belief, expressions of consciousness. When you speak of not having, of what's missing, of what's wrong, you are not merely describing your world, you are shaping it. You are impressing upon your subconscious a state of limitation, and because your inner world is the source of all outer expression, lack must then multiply in your life. Every complaint is a rehearsal of powerlessness. It is a performance of defeat, A confession that you believe something outside of you holds the power. When you complain, you are saying this condition is greater than I am. I am subject to it. I am helpless before it. And though you may not mean it consciously, your subconscious mind hears the message clearly and obeys you. See, the subconscious does not reason. It does not argue. It simply accepts repeated feeling tone thoughts as truth. It mirrors back to you without bias what you dwell upon consistently. So when you're in a conversation, is one of worry, frustration, or lack, your life begins to reflect more of that tone. It is not punishment, it is law, but the wise do not waste words. They do not speak of what they do not want. They understand the creative power of the tongue, and so they choose silence when they are tempted to vent, complain, or explain failure. They know that silence in the face of adversity is not denial. It is discipline. It is the refusal to energize a reality that is passing away. Speak only of what you desire. Declare the end from the beginning. Describe your life not as it is, but as it will be, once your desire is fulfilled. Not to convince others, but to align yourself. You are not affirming to beg the universe. You are affirming to remind yourself of the truth that all things are possible and all things are done to you as you believe. And if you cannot speak of your desire with confidence, then speak not at all. Remain still, go within, feel the wish fulfilled in the sanctuary of your mind. Let the silence carry the vibration of certainty. Let your quiet be your strength. In stillness, you are closest to the source, and from that stillness, creation flows without resistance. There is power and restraint power in choosing your words with care. Power in knowing when to be silent. For the one who no longer needs to voice their struggle has already left that struggle behind in consciousness. They have moved to the new state, and the old one is already fading. Do not speak of lack. Do not rehearse suffering. Do not describe what you no longer wish to live. Speak of your desire as real, or speak not at all. Your words are either watering the seed of your dream or feeding the weeds of your doubt. Choose them with reverence. Let your speech be sacred. Let your silence be strategic, and let your life be the proof. Miracles are normal when you assume your desire. What the world often calls extraordinary supernatural, or impossible is, in truth, the natural result of an inner certainty. There is no magic involved, no special favor granted from above. There is only a quiet, unwavering assumption that what you desire is already yours in the world, then reshapes itself to reflect that conviction. Assumption is not a weak hope or a casual wish. It is a state of being. It is living from the end. When you assume your desire, you move beyond the question of if or how. You rest in the knowing that it is already done. You walk differently, you speak differently, your inner dialogue shifts, and this change in your inner world is what alters the outer. To the one who doubts the fulfillment of desire seems like a miracle, they say. How did this happen? How is it possible? No. But to the one who understands the law, it is the most natural thing in the world. It could not have happened any other way. The assumption of the wish fulfilled plants succeed in consciousness, and consciousness, being the only creative power, must bring it forth. There is no effort required in this process, only alignment. The seed does not strive to become the tree, it simply contains within it the knowing of what it is. Likewise, your assumption contains the blueprint of your desire. Once fully accepted, it begins to unfold not because you force it, but because it is already written in the invisible. Most people attempt to manifest by forcing circumstances, chasing opportunities, and trying to control outcomes. The true creation begins within. You do not need to manipulate the world. You only need to occupy the state. When you become one with the feeling of already having what you want, the world must conform. That is law. That is order. What others call a miracle is merely the result of someone dwelling in the right state long enough for the world to catch up. You must understand reality is malleable. It is shaped not by effort, but by consciousness. It reflects back to you your dominant assumptions, those things you accept as true without resistance. So when you assume abundance, abundance flows. When you assume love, love arrives. When you assume healing, healing occurs. And to those around you, it may appear as a miracle, but to you it was simply the natural result of your inner conviction. You are not asking the world to give you something that already exists in another dimension of possibility. You are simply selecting it by assuming it. There is no begging, pleading, or waiting. There is only choosing, aligning, and trusting. So let go of the idea that miracles are rare. Let go of the belief that you must suffer. Strive or earn your desire. Yes, assume your wish is fulfilled. Now walk in that state. Feel the relief live from the end. And you will discover that miracles are not exceptions, they are the rules disengaged from the outer command. The inner this is the secret path of all transformation. The world of appearances, the conditions, the circumstances, the facts is not the source of your experience. It is the echo, the shadow, the output picturing of an earlier state of mind. To wrestle with it is to try and change the reflection in the mirror rather than the face itself. It is futile, exhausting, and fruitless. You must turn away from the illusion and direct your gaze inward where all true power lies. The outer world is always late. It is always behind. What you see with your eyes is not the present. It is the past crystallized. The moment you recognize this, you free yourself. You stop reacting. You stop chasing you. Stop explaining or complaining. Instead, you begin to create consciously by mastering the inner realm. To command the inner means to choose deliberately the thoughts you think, the emotions you dwell in, and the scenes you play within your imagination. It means holding firmly to your vision in the face of contradiction, not because you are stubborn, but because you understand that what shall be already is. In the unseen, in the eternal, in the imagination. And if you persist there, the outer must conform. When you invest attention in what shall be, you are not escaping reality. You are creating it. You're moving from the temporary to the permanent, from the visible to the cause. It is not denial of what is, it is transcendence of it. You acknowledge what is happening. But you refuse to let it dictate your inner world. You choose instead to dwell in the unseen state of fulfillment, and in time, the outer must catch up. There is great power in withdrawing attention where your focus goes, energy flows, and if you continue to stare at problems, they grow. But if you turn within and dwell on the solution begins to manifest. This is not wishful thinking. It is alignment with the law of consciousness. You are always manifesting. The only question is whether you are doing it deliberately or by default. This engagement is not inaction. It is inspired non-reaction. It is the deliberate choice to no longer be a victim of appearances. It is refusing to let the outer world define your mood, your belief, or your identity. You step into your role as creator and withdraw from the drama of conditions, commanding the inner his quiet work. It is done in solitude, in silence, in the stillness of your heart and mind. But though it appears subtle, it moves mountains. The world bends to the one who is. Unmoved by it, creation begins the moment you stop reacting and start assuming, so stop wrestling, stop explaining, stop worrying. Turn within, see the desire fulfilled. Feel the relief of already having walked in that inner conviction. And as surely as the sun rises, the outer world will follow. It must, because it is only ever a reflection of what lives within you. When you no longer complain, no longer explain, and instead choose to quietly assume your desire is already fulfilled, you rise above the illusion of lack, fear, and doubt. You become still not because you are passive, but because you now understand that creation begins in silence. In that silence, you no longer react to the outer world. You command the inner one, and from that inner command, miracles flow. What the world calls supernatural is nothing more than the natural outcome of a disciplined mind. You no longer beg for change, you become the change. You no longer seek permission. You walk in authority. You no longer explain your vision, you live it. That is true power to remember this. Never complain, never explain manifest miracles. Let your results speak for you. Let your silence build worlds. Let your assumption become your experience. Thank you for listening. Everything begins within before the mansion is built, before the wealth is accumulated. Before the success is broadcasted to the world, it is first imagined. Imagination is not a passive daydream. It is a creative act. It is the divine faculty through which we mold our world to feel like a millionaire before the 1,000 arrive. You must train yourself to imagine differently, deliberately, and persistently. You are not waiting for life to hand you riches. You are commanding reality to express your inner convictions. What you consistently imagine yourself to be, you become not because imagination is wishful thinking, but because it is the cause of all outward expression. The world you see is not separate from your consciousness. It is shaped by it, colored by it, and projected by it. When you consistently hold the image of yourself as wealthy, successful, and free, you are not pretending you are creating, you are rewriting the unseen blueprint that governs the events of your life. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are aligning yourself with the deeper truth, a higher identity, one that already exists within you. The problem is not that people imagine too much, but that they imagine the wrong things. They see debt, so they feel poor. They see struggle, so they assume lack. But the senses only confirm the past. Imagination reveals the future. To truly be wealthy, you must ignore the evidence of the senses and become loyal to your inner vision. This is not denial. It is mastery. It is the secret the world overlooks. Let your imagination become your sanctuary. Visit it often, sit in silence, and ask yourself, what would my life look like if I were already a millionaire? Do not answer with logic. Feel it. Experience it in full color. Walk through your dream home. Sit in the comfort of your favorite chair. See your bank balance reflecting abundance. Hear the words of admiration spoken about you. Feel the security, the power, the joy of having more than enough. This practice is not to get rich in the tradition, since it is to become inwardly rich now. It is to enter the state where money is not something you chase. It is something that flows to you as a natural response to your consciousness. The outer world will catch up, but only if you do not waver. Return daily to your inner sanctuary. Build the habit of seeing yourself as wealthy. Do not do it to impress the world. Do it to awaken the truth within you. Wealth is not something you achieve. It is something you express, and expression begins in imagination. The world will follow your lead when you lead from within. Imagination is not the escape from reality. It is the foundation of it. Dare to imagine boldly, and reality must conform. This is the true power hidden in plain sight. Your imagination is the gateway to reality. The key to transformation is not effort, but identification. You must stop reaching for your desires as if they are somewhere far away. Instead, bring them into the present by assuming they are already yours. Do not wait for the millions to feel abundant. Feel abundant now, and the millions will have no choice but to show up. Living in the end means occupying the state of your fulfilled desire mentally, emotionally, spiritually, before there is any evidence in the physical world. It means thinking from your goal, not about your goal. You do not try to become wealthy, you become it in consciousness. You no longer ask, when will it happen? You begin to live as if it has already happened. This is not pretending it is creating. You are not faking anything. You are faithfully inhabiting a reality that already exists on a higher level. Your job is not to force it into existence, but to assume the position of one who already possesses it. Ask yourself daily, if I were already a millionaire, how would I think, speak, move, and feel? What decisions would I make? What would I no longer worry about? What would I expect? Living in the end requires that you allow these answers to shape your behavior right now, not someday in the future. Your inner world must reflect the truth of your fulfilled desire, even when the outer world has not yet caught up. Living in the end is an act of radical faith. It is choosing to prioritize your inner conviction over external conditions. And here is the paradox. Once you truly live in the end, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to match your new identity. The world cannot help but yield to your dominant state of being. This state must become natural. It should feel so real to you that you no longer question it. You no longer hope for wealth. You move through your day with the confidence of someone who already has it. You no longer seek signs. You are the sign. The world reflects who you are being, not what you are wanting. When doubts arise, and they will, do not fight them. Simply return to the state. Enter the end in your imagination. See it. Feel it. Dwell in it. Let it soothe you and guide you. Let the feeling of the wish fulfilled be your resting place. When this becomes your default state, life begins to bend around your new identity. Understand this. Your desire was not given to torment you. It was given to awaken you. It is a seed from a higher realm, and it comes complete with all that is required for its fulfillment. But you must nourish it by living as though it is already so. So today, make the decision. Stop postponing your wealth. Step into the feeling of already being that which you desire. Don't wait for the end. Live in the end. And from that place, all things are not only possible, they are inevitable. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. It is a state of being. It is not something you acquire. It is something you embody when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfill. You no longer act as someone who is striving for success. You become the person who already possesses it, and in the becoming, the outer world must rearrange itself to mirror your inner transformation. Your emotional state is creative. It sends out a silent signal to the universe, and that signal is always being answered when you feel poor, needy, or lacking. Even if you mask it with positive words, you are still declaring, I do not have, and the world echoes back that truth. But when you feel rich, secure, and abundant, regardless of your current circumstances, You are broadcasting a new signal, one that commands reality to follow. Assumption is not about effort or force. It is about surrendering into the truth of the desired state. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled means to dwell in the emotional atmosphere of already having what you desire. It is feeling as though your desire has already been realized, and living from that conviction. You don't wait for evidence to feel differently. You feel differently first, and then the evidence appears. This is the great reversal that most never understand. The world teaches you to react, but creation demands that you lead. You must feel the result before the result can show itself. Feel rich now and the world must catch up. Imagine what it would feel like if money were no longer a concern. Let that feeling rise in your body. Would you feel relieved? Grateful, free? Would you walk differently, speak with more certainty, sleep more peacefully? That feeling is the key. It is not fantasy, it is the blueprint. You must move into that state, occupy it fully, and let it become familiar. And here's the beautiful secret. You can do this now. No one can stop you from entering the state of wealth in your mind. You don't need permission. You don't need the current balance in your bank account to change. You need only to accept emotionally and mentally that you are what you desire to be. When the feeling becomes natural, the world responds. It may not happen instantly, but it must happen. The laws of creation are exact. Persist in the assumption and do not let temporary appearances shake your inner conviction. The longer you remain in the state, the more inevitable its expression becomes. So practice this daily. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and step into the version of you who is already rich. Not tomorrow, not later now. Feel the warmth of abundance, the confidence, the calm power of wealth. Let it clothe your mind. Let it become who you are. You are not chasing wealth. You are revealing it. The treasure is already within. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and your world will reshape itself in perfect harmony with the truth. You now dare to feel one of the greatest obstacles to manifestation is the mind's insistence on controlling the past. It wants to know how everything will happen, when it will arrive, and through whom. But that need to micromanage life is what keeps your desire at arm's length. The truth is, the path to $1,000 is not your concern. It is not your job to figure out how abundance will reach you. Your only responsibility is to remain loyal to the state of already being wealthy. Desire does not come alone. It carries with it the means of its own fulfillment. The moment you truly desire something and assume it has already done, the unseen begins to move, and visible currents shift people, opportunities, and events begin to align. But these movements happen beyond your line of sight. You may not see the orchestration, but it is happening nonetheless. When you constantly ask how, you are declaring that you do not trust the process. You are telling the universe, I do not believe this can happen unless I control every step. And so you block the flow, you introduce doubt, tension, and fear. You step out of the end state and into the waiting state. And in doing so, you delay your own manifestation. Eventually, detachment from the how is not indifference, it is wisdom. It is knowing that your imagination is the seed, and your assumption is the soil. Once planted, your only job is to remain faithful to what you've created within. You do not dig up the seed to check if it's growing. You water it with confidence. You nourish it with repetition. You protect it from dour. Faith is demonstrated by rest. If you truly believed you were already wealthy, you wouldn't worry about the mechanics. You wouldn't obsess over the next step. You would trust that all things are working for your good, even if you cannot yet see how. No. You would move with quite certainty. You would live your life with a calm assurance that what you've imagined is already on its way. Miracles often arrive through the most ordinary channels. You may receive a phone call, a job offer, a new connection, or even a seemingly random idea. But these are not accidents. They are the result of your inner state. Do not try to predict how it will unfold. Simply remain in the feeling of being wealthy now, and allow the path to reveal itself in its own time and form. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the need to plan every detail. Let go of the urge to doubt when things seem still. Trust that the stillness is not stagnation. It is preparation. The invisible is organizing on your behalf. Doors will open, and you will know which one to walk through when the moment comes. Stay loyal to the end. That is your only task. Feel it, live it, believe it. The how will take care of itself. Life is not asking you to control it, only to align with it. Detach from the how, and you will witness the impossible become inevitable. Words are not just sounds. There are declarations of identity. Every time you speak, Whether aloud or silently in your mind, you are casting a vote for the version of yourself you believe in. If you want to experience the life of a millionaire, you must begin to speak from that reality. Not about it as a distant goal, but from it as a present truth. There is a powerful difference between saying one day I'll be rich and saying I am wealthy now. The former places your desire in the future, always just out of reach. The latter anchors it in the present, where creation actually occurs. You are not trying to become something, you are affirming that you already are. This is where most people go wrong. They speak about what they want, complain about what they don't have, and talk about lack as if it were unchangeable. They beg, wish, and hope, not realizing that these postures only reinforce their current state. But to truly shift your reality, you must speak from the place you wish to occupy. You must claim it in thought, word, and feeling. Imagine the inner dialogue of someone who already possesses great wealth. Would they worry about bills? Would they obsess over price tags? Would they speak in terms of struggle and limitation? No. Their words would reflect confidence, peace, generosity, and abundance. Begin to speak in this way and you align your vibration with the very reality you wish to enter. Let your inner conversations be filled with certainty, not desire. When you talk to yourself, and you do all day long, let those quiet conversations reflect your new identity. Say to yourself, I always have more than enough. Money flows easily to me. I make decisions from a place of power. I am blessed beyond measure. You are not lying. Even when appearances contradict, your words persist. Speak from the end result, not from the temporary facts. Creation is not confirmed by what you see. It is confirmed by what you declare. You are not waiting for proof. You are giving life to truth. When challenges arise, do not fall back into old patterns of speech. Speak as the version of yourself who already knows how this story ends. You are not the character trying to win. You are the one who has already won. Let your tone, your energy, your words reflect that reality. Speak with calm authority. Speak with joy. Speak with unshakable belief. Every word you speak carves out your future. Use them wisely. Stop telling the story of struggle. Start telling the story of success. Let the language of wealth become natural to you. Not just in affirmations, but in your ordinary conversations, in your private thoughts, and in your daily choices. You don't need the world to validate you. You need only to remain true to the version of yourself that already exists in imagination. Speak from it and life will follow your voice. The universe responds to identity, not effort. So speak now. Not as someone who hopes to be a millionaire, but as one who already is. Manifestation is not a momentary flash of inspiration. It is a steady, deliberate act of faith. The difference between those who manifest their desires and those who fall short is not talent, luck, or external circumstances. It is persistence. Doubt delays, but persistence creates. You must remain loyal to your imagined reality until it becomes the only truth you recognize. To persist means to occupy the state of your fulfilled desire again and again, regardless of what your senses tell you. The world around you may scream the opposite of your vision. Your bank account might not yet reflect abundance. Circumstances may appear unchanged, but the persistent one does not waver. They continue to walk, speak, and feel as though their desire is already fat. This is the secret. What you consistently accept as true within must eventually become true. Without, the world cannot resist your sustained inner conviction. But most people give up too soon. They plant the seed of wealth in their imagination, but when results don't appear instantly, they dig it up with doubt. They let the visible override the invisible. And so they start over again and again, never allowing the new state to take root. But if you will persist quietly, confidently, without needing evidence, you will see your assumption harden into fact. It may come slowly at first, like a distant echo, a small shift here, a new opportunity there. But soon the momentum builds. Life begins to reshape itself around your dominant state. The outer world conforms to the inner blueprint. Persistence is not about force, it's about faithfulness. You are remaining faithful to your new identity, not because you are trying to make something happen, but because you know it already has. There is nothing to chase, only something to become. You live as the millionaire now. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now you buy in your imagination. You live in gratitude. You think from abundance. You do this again and again until it becomes natural. And when it becomes natural, it becomes real. With great manifestation begins with persistence. The dreamer holds to their dream through silence, through setbacks, through appearances, They trust the unseen more than the seen. They speak wealth into being even when no one else sees it. They are not moved by facts. They are anchored in truth, and that truth is simple. You already are what you desire to be. It is done. The only thing left is to remain in that knowing long enough for the outer world to catch up. You don't need to beg, hustle, or prove anything. You only need to persist. So hold the image, feel the feeling, speak the words, walk in the assumption and do it until there is no room for doubt, until it becomes effortless, until the inner becomes outer. Reality will bend, the world will conform, and what once lived only in your imagination will stand before you as fact. So now you know. The millionaire version of you is not waiting somewhere in the distance. It is here, now ready to be claimed. Your wealth does not begin with action, but with being. You become it in thought. You assume it in feeling. You express it in speech, and you remain faithful to it in imagination until the unseen becomes seen. Live in the end. Assume the feeling. Detach from the how. Speak from it. Persist without wavering. This is the divine formula. This is the path walked by those who understand that reality begins within, no matter where you are right now. Know this, your current circumstances are not the final word. You are the operant power. The authority over your life rests in your ability to feel a new state, to inhabit it, and to trust it until it becomes flesh. Dare to believe that what you imagine is more real than what you see. Dare to remain faithful to your inner vision in a world that insists you be realistic, and dare above all to feel. Now what you once reserved for the future, because when you feel it now, the future must obey. Thank you. Thank you for opening your heart to this message. Thank you for daring to dream bigger. And thank you for choosing right now to step into the most powerful truth of all. You already are what you desire to be. The rest is just catching up.